Okay, so what's new this month in the mortgage world?
Well, one of the biggest things is condo changes that just happened on August 3rd. Really big deal. They did away with the investor cap. So you know how when you get a condo, you always have to look at the percentage of owner occupied versus investors. They completely did away with that. They also are now including in special exception condo units less than 10 units. It used to be you had to have a minimum of 10 units in the complex to even get an approval. I would say the only thing we're not crazy about is they did do away with the limited reviews. There are no more streamlined limited reviews. So we will need to do the full on review. So what you can do as agents, how many of you, can you put it in the chat? How many of you, we do get a lot of condo questions weekly. How many of you have listed a condo in, say, the last 90 days or sold a condo?
I have never.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how, but nope, never.
Yeah.
This is Shelley. I did, but it was not in the last 90 days.
Okay. Okay. So, like we need all those documents. We need the HOA docs, just if you want to make a note if this comes up, or if you have a listing. Oftentimes agents will just reach out to us and say, hey, is this condo approved? If it's not, what are you going to need? So that you can prep. It is often a mistake potentially, or just not understanding the listing shows as a PUD or a townhome, and where once we start digging into it, it's a condo. So that changes pricing potentially, and it also changes the process and how long it changes. There's certain investors that are easier for condos and certain investors that are just a brutal nightmare because they dig way into the condo process. So you're going to need, if you list a condo or you're buying, helping your buyer with a condo, you're going to need the HOA contact person. And I would just put my foot down really hard and say, hey, I need this right out of the gate. You're going to need a resale cert, and you're going to need all the HOA docs and a condo master policy. So that's for the homeowner's insurance. So some of the biggest things you want to just look out for is ask the seller if they know of any lawsuits pending or maintenance issues. We had one not too long ago. I don't remember if it was yours or not, that they were replacing all of the windows. So there was a capital contribution being added to the condo association members. So that can be a pretty big expense that you want to take into consideration. But this is huge news in mortgage world. I would say that's the biggest thing.
Okay. Well, that's very
Other than the appraisals, that's happening November, but we're just all gonna not talk about the appraisals until it happens.
Yeah, because it keeps getting pushed.
It keeps getting pushed, and who knows what they'll end up doing.
Yep.
I've seen some change with it. Like I think that they've definitely cut back on the chipping paint portion in them.
Well, they did away with the chipping paint for VA
Yeah,
if it's built after 1978.
but they didn't take in all that other new stuff where it's going to take longer and all that stuff. I didn't know that didn't kick in yet, but it's good to know. So, do you guys have any questions? Anybody think of anything off the top of their head that they want to ask Fidelis this month? Don't leave me hanging with silence.
I have a
And
question
scenarios
for
that
the
you've run into.
agents.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll let you go first. I know I'll be the last. I'll close.
no, go ahead.
Okay, so for the agents, so I've came across this and I just want to kind of put it out there and see how you would handle it. So I currently have a buyer who conditions came back very smooth. We're supposed to close August 27th. And after title researched everything, it came back that one of the sellers has an open bankruptcy and didn't tell anybody. even their agent. So I just want to know, how would you guys kind of like prevent that from happening? And if it was something you missed, how would you handle that? And how would you kind of like, like have everybody on happy terms? Not all at once.
So the seller has an open bankruptcy. I don't think I've ever faced that. Do they have to, so like, does that halt the process?
With the seller?
It does. So
Seller.
they actually, the sellers, they cannot sell until that is like through the court and everything. So they never started it. So they have to go through a bankruptcy attorney. That can take up, it says that their hearing date is in 3 weeks, which would be August 27th. And then the judge has to sign off because there is a 10-day appeal after that, because it's a period for the creditors to fight the sale, which they normally don't do, but it's something that can happen. It's a legal process they have to do. So it's already going to be pushed back at least like to September at this point. And my buyer is completely like the conditions are like updated bank statements, like nothing serious, first time home buyer. So I just was curious,
Well,
how
I
you
guess
guys would handle that.
I would talk to the buyer and see if they had the ability to wait it out. Like I've waited out
Hmm.
harder processes that took way longer. Angie knows. So, um,
Uh,
it really depends
my,
on how
will
committed.
the lender hold that interest rate for them another month or 2 months if it goes into that?
That could be a cost.
Hmm. So that's one thing. So we do have the ability to extend for a certain period. Like some of our investors do allow us a grace period. They'll give us a few days to extend it. Um, But besides that, at this point, we're trying to negotiate with the sellers to pretty much pay for everything else if it goes past the 27th because uh not his fault. First time home buyer, already told his leasing that he was leaving. So it kind of just puts it's a big pickle for everyone. And yeah, it can make things difficult. We just found that out this morning.
Can he
So
withdraw from the bankruptcy?
can he withdraw?
Can the seller withdraw from the bankruptcy?
Um, I'm not sure. They just said that the, let's see. So it says the seller has an open bankruptcy, didn't tell anyone, not even their agent. They found out through the search and reached out. They found out through the title search. So she hid it. And didn't tell anyone. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there too for the agents of kind of keep in mind of stuff like that happening. And if there's just, keep that in the back of your mind, just so things don't get held up, things, just doing your due diligence and just making sure stuff like that isn't being covered up. Not much you can really do off that, but I mean,
Yeah, I
everything
was
comes
gonna
to
say
light
like
when it comes to title.
what can you do to prevent that,
Well, a
really?
checklist for us, we
I
have
would do a
to,
checklist.
yeah, part of the process for application is we asked a couple things that can really blow up a deal, like, do you currently pay the IRS any monthly payments for back taxes owed? That's a big thing that blows up deals. Have you had a bankruptcy or are you in the process of bankruptcy? Have you filed? You could cover that
Foreclosure.
foreclosure and ask those
Mhm.
questions on a checklist. Maybe that would be good. Have you
Hidden child
started,
support
in your
now.
case, have you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say child support is a
Yeah,
big one.
there's a lot of, we just had somebody
40
this
grand.
week pop up with a $40,000 back child support owed, and that's a $700 a month payment.
Jesus.
And that's gonna come up on title, so we're never gonna, even if we could figure out a way to make the debt to income work, we're never gonna get around that title issue
Mhm.
of back child support.
Yeah.
Can I
You
ask a
also maybe
question?
like,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Okay, it's Mindy. So this was a seller that did not disclose a bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
There's a question on the listing contract that they should have completed or someone should have gone over with them. So they're in violation of their listing because are there any outstanding credits or I don't know how it reads exactly, but there's a part there for issues like that. Now I'm going to pull one out.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull one up here. Because you're right, it does.
So if they answered no, then the seller is
They lied.
My question is
liable.
always, who's the other agent? Who's the list agent? Because it's only as good as the list agent. And if they didn't know, then the person created a fraud on their listing because they failed to provide a marketable property. So the buyer might be able to go after them for other things, but all right, that's my
He
next.
don't speak English. He ain't gonna know all that. I have to reiterate that.
The
But good to
agent
know.
or the
No,
buyer?
my buyer doesn't speak English. He understands, but he don't speak it. So I gotta help him out a little bit.
I
But
almost
this
have
is a
it pulled
great
up.
review because then you can be hypersensitive to, because title finds everything.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
they
I mean, like,
do.
this is why it's important to know your contracts, you know? Um, I'm almost there.
Okay.
It's hard. Nobody likes surprises. I had a deal last year, and I will never forget this because it is. I'm not going to say who was handling title because I don't want to push anyone under the bus because it honestly probably was really not their fault at the end of the day as well. But it's 5 p.m. the night before closing, and my phone rings, and it's the title agent. So I knew I'm like, okay, this is going to be good. And there was back taxes that popped up 5 p.m. the night before we're going to settlement for a non-occupying co-borrower on title for about 75 grand. So it's just a reminder, like, obviously we're all trying to do our best to catch everything up front as quick as we can, but unfortunately, sometimes you end up in these really one-off situations where it's kind of out of everyone's control. And at that point, you're just taking the reins to steer the ship to the closing table still as quickly as you can. And we closed a week later, but we had some hoops to jump through. So
So in the listing contract, it's in section for PA, I will say I'd have to see a Maryland one. I know we have Maryland people on here, but I only have access to PA. So on page 6 of 7, under section 31, title and possession, down in section D, it says seller has judgments, past due property taxes, federal tax liens, state tax liens, past due municipal assessments, past due HOA fees or condo fees, and past due condo or HOA assessments. And then it has a spot for other as well. So, like, child support would probably fall under other. And then if the seller at any time since January 1998 there's been obligated to pay support under an order on record in any PA county, list the county and the domestic relations number or docket number right there. So if you're going over the contract and you're going through this section by section so that you're asking them all the questions, then that's a question right there that you need to be asking. And if they say that there's none, how to prevent something in that situation would be put 0 beside all of those because then you're acknowledging that you went over that. They've said 0. So one of the power hours that we're going to be doing here in the beginning of September is documenting every step so that your butt's covered, right? Documenting communication so that if something does come back like this, it's not on you, right? So if you're put in their NA or whatever, and you're filling that out with them and they're signing off on it, then that shows that you went over it with them. And then if they have lied to you, it's going to fall back on them. But if that section's just all blank, and then somebody comes back and says, you didn't do your job right, you didn't ask them these questions, what proof do you have that you did?
And then section 29 is special assessments and taxes. If they have, like we were talking, the condo maintenance fees, that kind of thing, that's where that would get filled out. So if somebody misses giving that because Brocky here in York had a $30,000 special assessment for maintenance. It was crazy. They had,
Wow.
I think, 12 months to pay it off. That's kind of hefty. But yeah, I do need to go in and start because I like to cover my butt. So I do need to either fill this in or if for the loopers, for the dot loopers, you can only give one of your 2 or 3 listers or buyers permission to fill out and sign. So only one person can fill out and sign. So you're going to have to get your listing person to do that.
Mhm.
Sorry, Brittany.
No, no, I love the input. And, yesterday in Ivy League, Justin pretty much scared anybody who was on that call and covering your butt even better. For those of you who are on that, we had tons of scenarios where people are getting sued over things. And that's why we've added the cover your butt power hour, documenting every step of the process. Even if it's an email to the person that says, like, this is what we went over, this is what we covered. You've got to be showing a paper trail that you've done your job correctly.
And is that something I can ask for? Or does the borrower, like the agent, or is that something like our side can ask for that listing contract? Or is it something that we can ask like, hey, was this section filled out? Like how would you go about that? Just because since my buyer doesn't speak English, I want to be able to help him as much as possible. You know?
I'm sure, yeah, you could ask for a copy just to review for the file.
Yeah, I'm sure like you could reach out to the listing agent because lenders reach out to listing agents for things other times. So I'm sure like, I don't know that the buyer's agent would be able to request that, but you as a lender would probably be
I
able
should.
to.
Okay. Because I'm not gonna say who it is, but it is an Iron Valley agent listing side, so I wanna make sure.
Yeah, and when in doubt, like if the agent won't, you can always reach out to the broker because the broker has access to all those forms, and you can just specifically say, like, can you check this section and see if it was filled out?
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up too, just so everybody can kind of have an idea if something like that happens, because it is one of those like weird off one situations that we always get.
I know at that point of the process, even as a listing agent, I would probably be needing to get broker involvement anyway.
Yeah.
When you're that deep into a hole, that's something that the
Okay.
broker should know anyhow. So,
Okay. Sounds good.
One thing that I'll mention, because we hit on condo changes this morning, and something that I'm seeing kind of across the board as a holdup. So it's just more to put it on everyone's radar. So, because this is a live example at this moment. So I got a contract in for a buyer on a condo Monday. Didn't even know they were offering on it, which is fine. I'm not worried about that. But I'm going in and updating the file. I'm getting ready to get it disclosed. And I need to know up front when we're disclosing what is the capital contribution fee for the condo association. And we also want to flag an amount for a condo questionnaire to have that completed with part of the process, which we can piece in a fee for that. But on the lending side, just to give you guys like a little scoop. So once we disclose, there's certain fees that can't change because if those fees change or they are disclosed wrong up front, we eat that out of our commission. I'll just share this so it's totally transparent with you guys. So it comes out. So I'm at this point now where it's like, everybody wants a quick turnaround on the closing, but nobody right now, and this is not an Iron Valley deal, nobody right now can tell me what this capital contribution fee is. I don't want to send out disclosures because I don't want a cost to cure on this capital contribution fee down the road as we're rolling through the process. So we're kind of at a standstill at the moment. So that's just a big one to remember whenever you're writing an offer on a condo, make sure that listing agent can communicate what that capital contribution fee is up front, because we kind of have to pause till we collect that then. And some of them are very hefty and others are very small. So it's not something that I just want to throw a number in for.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, Lake Mead's like $7,700.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
Lake
so
Mead
high.
is still expensive. And then you have some that are like $250. So it's like, how do I disclose that? And I don't want to be at risk for it, or cause issues to the file. So that's one that we see pretty regularly. And then we're kind of running around trying to figure out what it is. So any condo, know that capital contribution fee up front. The listing agent should very easily be able to provide that information. So
Well, I think the big thing with that is slowing down. Like I see so often where everyone's so eager to get something under contract or get something on the market from the listing side or the buyer side that they don't slow down to make sure they have all the pieces to the puzzle before they start putting it together. And it's important, like who's actually put a puzzle together. You get all the outline things sorted out, right? And you pull out the center ones. And that's exactly what you need to be doing when it comes to putting a house on the market or putting in an offer. Make sure you have all the pieces organized prior to going into it. Um, if you're listing a condo, take the time to reach out to the condo association and get the fee sheets, put them right on the MLS. It doesn't take that much to do that and put that on there. So many times, like this even goes for mobile home parks too. So many times I see a listing come up and there are no documents in there. There's a seller's disclosure, lead paint form, whatever. And that's it. And there's no park rules and regulations, or if it's an HOA, there's no HOA documents. Just take the time for yourself, get them so that you have them, put them up there so that you're not fielding 100 emails saying, what are the fees? What is this? What is that? Just put it out there. And then, like, same when you're on the buyer side, if that stuff isn't there, reach out to the agent, ask for those documents. If they don't have them, take the time and reach out to the condo association or the HOA and get those documents for your client. Because if you're doing a condo, an HOA, or even a mobile home in a park, you need a receipt of documents that you provided all of that to your clients.
I was just gonna say that. Like, you should definitely do that. Cover your
Right.
butt.
Like the file's gonna ask you for that receipt of documents. Are you really gonna send out something else to sign 3 days after you're under contract, or are you gonna just get everything signed at one time? Take the time. And this is how mistakes are getting made when it's coming to getting paid, you guys. And I'm so glad that they're taking away the CBC. I don't care about old dogs learning new tricks, but so many times nobody's asking where they want that at. Where do you want the commission? It's like those simple little questions. Call and have a phone call with the agents. Just call, have a conversation, ask questions. What's your preferred settlement date? That way you're not delaying 2 weeks before closing because you never asked and they can't get into their place until a week after that. Like just talk, communicate, slow down and stop feeling like we are not at a point, and I can tell, I'm looking at the market. We're not at a point right now where like the house goes on the market and offers are due in the next 2 hours. It happens sometimes. I have seen it, but it is more of an anomaly than it's a trend right now. And I think that if you're communicating with the agent, even if an offer does come in within the first couple hours, if you're communicating with them and they know yours is coming, they're going to wait for you. At least most of them. You might get that random jerk, but again, this isn't going to be the common thing. Communication's key. It's going to prevent so many problems down the line. And just like that, like you didn't even know they were getting a condo. If they would have slowed down, shot you a message and said, "Hey, can you run a cost sheet?" So I can, even if they're preparing their own, which not many agents do. So I know that that's probably not the case. Where's the cost sheet?
yeah.
It says on the last page that they went over a cost sheet. Did they? Because you didn't even know about it.
Well, and also another thing that can come up if this is conventional, but if it's FHA, it has to be approved by HUD. So we typically get those calls, hey, can you look up the condo complex to make sure it's approved? There are instances, I'm working on one now, that you can get a spot approval. but it can really delay closing, and there's no guarantee how to do it.
Mhm.
So if you're writing a contract hoping for a HUD approval, I mean, it could just be a flat out no. There's not going to be because these changes are Fannie Freddie, not HUD, FHA. So
Mhm.
Mm.
And there's a lot around. Like I know someone
There-
in NOLA
there
that
really
will
are.
not go HUD.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Hey, Brittany, I put in the chat, react.com. We have a database of all condos and HOAs, and we try to keep it current. So if you find information that's different from what is in there, let REAC know. But at least that's a good starting point for contact for the HOA and phone number, that kind of thing. We try to keep in their capital contribution and monthly payments as well.
great. That is great.
I have a question. Because this one threw me for a wild ride last year with a buyer that was already under contract. So when you're listing a property and you have this beautiful rancher and it's on 5 acres and gorgeous finished basement, I mean, like nothing, no details skimped on. Are you including the square footage of that basement in your listing?
No. Because it's below grade.
It's below grade finished,
Correct.
only at a certain percentage of value of the first floor.
Mhm.
Okay.
Does it matter if it's a walkout basement? Like, can you walk straight out? Does that make you be able, or does that allow you to be able to count it, or no? Still no?
I think it gives more value.
It will get more value. So yes, you're correct, but you really shouldn't kind of. So I'm just going to say this, and I'm not going once again, I'm not going to name, but there is a team that's moving and shaking in this market. It's not Iron Valley. Every listing with a finished basement is getting square footage, and it's showing right on Zillow. Okay. So I have a buyer go under contract on one of their properties last year. I don't know the true square footage of above grade. We get a $65,000 appraisal cut. And here it's because 100% was given to the below grade square footage, and it's happening on every listing.
Want to
Now,
know how to cure that?
well, I called the listing agent and said, hey, just a heads up, I'm not trying to step on your toes. And I don't know that I should be doing this, but I'm like, you got to watch your listings because I'm like, you're way off. And we had already communicated, I had let the buyer's agent already communicate with them, but I'm like, you're going to get shot down on with an appraisal cut on every listing you have.
Yeah,
Our-
go into Bright and hit the bullseye for inaccurate information on the listing.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. That's what I was getting ready to say, Mindy, I want to hear your response because that is for real. That is the only way to stop this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just hurts the buyer and it hurts the whole situation.
When
And
you know someone that does that, I just tell my people straight out, this is inaccurate information because I can pull the plot, do the measurement of the first floor and say there's not this amount of square footage. Did you see the room sizes? 9 by 9, 10 by 10, 14 by 14. No, this house is not massive.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, another one that really gets me is I was in one that had a huge appraisal cut. It's been a while, but it was put in as a 4-bedroom Cape Cod. And I was like, there ain't no way. So we get there to go look at it, and 3 of the bedrooms are in the basement, and there is no walkout. There's no windows. There's no nothing. And I called the agent and I was like, these are not bedrooms. They do not count. Like you have a finished basement, but that's literally it. This doesn't count. In order for bedrooms to count, you have to have an exit from that floor and you have to have windows that humans can fit through. I don't know the exact dimensions. I know that they are out there. I get that.
It needs to be a true egress window to
Mhm.
even get any sort of consideration. So we're talking like, the window that you can get the body through, and then it has the steps coming out of the window well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Them little tiny air windows, they don't count.
Yeah.
You're not fitting a human through them, okay? You might fit a toddler, but I don't know. Like, it's not gonna work. So just keep that in mind too when you're looking at these houses. If they're counting basement bedrooms, it's not gonna count when the appraiser comes through. And same if it's one you have to walk through to get to another room. I mean, a lot of the
I was
old
just gonna say
houses,
that.
a lot of old houses have a room you gotta walk through to get to the one behind it. That first one does not count as a bedroom if you have to walk through it. Somebody said to me once, well, if they don't have closets, they're not bedrooms. No bull crap. That has nothing to do with it. Nobody cares if the room has a closet or not. But they do count, windows and exterior access. Like if there's a fire, how are they getting out? If they're sleeping, how are they getting out?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's tricky.
I have a question
Yeah.
for Fidelis, since you guys are on here today. Okay, so I'm representing a seller, and my seller accepted an offer, it was a VA offer, and we have a couple items that we've got to fix. We knew that going in. The one item, the buyer's agent called the appraiser and talked about it with him, so we had more clarification on what needed to be done.
Mhm.
And this appraiser recommended something that I've never heard of. Offered up a first suggestion, and if we couldn't get that to work, said, ask the lender for a waiver. I have never heard of asking for an item that's required by VA, asking them to give you a waiver. Have you ever heard of that?
No, because what's going to happen is it's going to go back to the investor, to the underwriter, and when they look at that, they're going to follow the appraisal. And they have to, like as a VA guideline, so they're going to say, well, no, if it's already been stated in the appraisal, then that repair has to be made prior to closing in full, and then we have to get a re-inspection.
Yeah, I
Now,
never heard of that. I was like,
the
what?
only thing that could come up is if it's not, because they went pretty loosey-goosey with VA repairs. Like they've really backed away from like this hard, fast list. So if it's something that an appraiser just called for and it's not really a guideline, but he's suggesting it, maybe that's what it is.
But then he should remove it from the report.
It was a wet basement. It was water in the basement.
Yeah, no, they're gonna.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Because
only
they're
time I
gonna
ever
want to see a picture of a dry basement.
Yeah, sometimes with the pictures they'll allow it. I had one where the pool was like green and they wanted like clarification that there was like no algae or something like that. And underwriting did ask for it just to be like cleaned with the picture. Like they didn't need it, like the appraiser to go back out or anything like that. So sometimes if it's small, like Angie says, or some stuff that they reported on, they put it on the report, but it's not an actual like guideline for VA.
Okay.
I've had the opposite. Since we're talking about this, I've had appraisals like FHA. I think it was FHA. Susan remembers. It always comes back to this freaking house, I swear. But we were like 2 days from settlement and we had done all the repairs that was requested by the appraiser. The appraiser went back out and okayed everything. And then underwriting was like, nope, look at this picture. This is wrong. And we want this fixed or you're not getting the loan. There was this like open landing at the top of the stairs with the railing over by the staircase. And they deemed that it was too low and it needed to be raised 12 inches. So how do you raise an entire railing in an old farmhouse in 24 hours? You call Brittany because she figures it out. But I put in like a false one on top and then put lattice in there just to like hold it,
Mhm.
and it got past that. But it just proves that even though you do those repairs, look at all the photos on there because underwriting can just call stuff out that they want fixed that they see in those photos as well. And if underwriting calls for it, there's no getting out of it.
Well, and 2 days before closing is hard. So I think,
Mhm.
the other thing there is like ensure that the lender is submitting the appraisal as is for underwriter review as soon as it comes in, because if the underwriter is going to flag something, and we get underwriters flagging things on conventional appraisals that they're
Mhm.
wanting repaired. So get that appraisal right in, even if there's repairs that need to be done, don't wait, because I mean, we make that our MO all the time, because get that underwriter's eyes on it, because if they're going to call out anything additional, let's have time to do it so nobody's scrambling.
Oh, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, not all lenders are built the same.
Yeah.
So that's for
Yeah.
sure. And it was not Fidelis. It
Yeah.
was a big named woman who does a lot of business in the area, though. So we'll just go with that. But I have no names because we're recorded, but it was definitely somebody very well known in the area who advertises a lot and threw that under, and yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
Local bank.
Oh, gosh.
Quick question.
Yeah.
So, for example, like the VA issues and whatnot, the inspections, so my house personally, we bought it about 2 years ago before I even knew anything about real estate. And my house honestly should not have passed inspection whatsoever. They pointed out certain things like random PVC pipes being like, I don't know, they were not it was just not good. It was not good. There was a lot of weather rotting in the deck. We ended up just taking the deck out like after like a year later, but like the flooring ended up lifting because there was water damage from the dishwasher. The cabinets from the kitchen ended up like caving in. There was all sorts of issues. The stairs were unsteady, the sump pumps weren't working, and there was signs of water damage. And the inspector that we used was actually our buying agent's inspector. He suggested that it was a very, I don't know, we would guarantee buying the house because if we used his guy, he would kind of just slip things under the rug. We didn't really know what that meant, but now that we know that our house is just kind of crap, like it kind of ruins the
Yeah.
quality of living in this house.
Yeah. Well, this just shows the difference between a good and a bad agent. I'm just gonna say, because like, why are you're just cramming deals through at that point, like on stuff that shouldn't fly. The whole reason that VA inspections and FHA inspections and even conventional, when you use them, are in place is to protect the buyer. And like, as a buyer's agent, you have an obligation to protect your buyer. Why do you want to push a deal through just to get it to the closing table? I mean, that's, sorry, in my opinion, an agent that's just working for a paycheck, and they're going to end up being like a total lawsuit risk. So like, this is why like you get those things done on purpose to know what you're getting into, like, and to get things corrected up front so that what you settle on is in good standing, like as a purchaser of a piece of real estate. So, and it's any deferred maintenance that that seller had on the property. Like, why shouldn't they have to clean that up? Like, I mean, this is just common sense when you take it back to like grassroots of real estate. So,
Well, and it
sorry
comes,
that happened.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
terrible.
that's really bad.
Well, it comes down to this though. You had said something that you're surprised it passed inspection. And the thing is that I think everybody needs to know. I know I explain to my clients all the time is that is not like a car inspection. It's not pass and fail. It is just a list of what is wrong with the house, and you determine what you want addressed and what you don't. It sounds to me like you were never actually presented the report, so you could actually go through it on your own and make that determination of what you wanted addressed and what you didn't. But when it comes to the appraisals, it is so important to explain to your buyers that those appraisals are not inspections. There are so many that I've had over the years that have missed big things, and some of them that I've waited for to see if they missed the big thing because I knew about it. I had one, it was USDA, and it needed a new roof. The home inspector said the roof is getting ready to leak. So I said to them, I said, the seller was able to do it with the proceeds of the sale to put a new roof on for them. So it was going to get addressed. But the big question at the time was, is it going to be called out by the appraiser? Because if it is, then it needs done beforehand. And the seller did not have the money to do that. So waited and waited for the appraisal to come back in. USDA is supposed to be like FHA and VA where they're super picky. They didn't call out the roof. They missed it. No lie, the day after closing, that roof started leaking. It was really bad. Now, the seller had sent the check right to the roofing company. They came out like 3 days later. They put that new roof on and everything's fine. But they missed an entire roof that was seriously horrible. They can miss anything. I just had one where we know they've had to deal with it with me where I had specifically told the guy I felt like he needed to do a home inspection because of the fact that it was a for sale by owner. And he was like, "No, I'm good. I don't want a home inspection. They'll do the appraisal." And I sat down with him and I said, "It is not the same. They are two completely different things." And he was like, "No, no, I don't need one." So I made him sign that waiver, thank God, that says, there's that section at the bottom. It's in forms, like it's in your dot loop and everything, but it says where they choose that they will choose the home inspector, or they will let you choose the home inspector, or they waive it all together, and it signs off on that, and you have to sign it, and it has the property name on there. Super important. I got sued once at a different brokerage because it didn't have the property address on it. It just was dated. So like this stuff's in there for your protection so that you're not getting the fines and you're not getting the lawsuit that comes with it. So if somebody's telling you, "Oh no, the appraisal is going to find anything and that's the inspection I need," get that form done because they're not going to find shit. I'm sorry to say. And a lot of things are going to be missed. And that's what happened with this buyer. The FHA appraisal came in, they needed a handrail on a deck, they needed a smoke detector, and that's it. And then the roof started leaking. And all the boots from the vents in the home were cracking around it, and water was just rushing in them. And it was never caught. And he's like, "Well, that appraiser should have caught that." No, it's not on the appraiser. The home inspector would have caught that, but it is completely different. And you have no idea the stuff I've seen slide in an appraisal that never gets called out. That I'm like, how did you miss this? I don't understand
We
it.
used to see more, and we see it less and less. We used to see calls for structural inspection, roof inspection, things like that, because they're never gonna say, "Oh, it needs a new roof." They're gonna most likely they're gonna say they're gonna put it back on another inspector because they don't want to be liable. So they're gonna say, "The roof looks sketchy. You need a roof cert."
Mhm.
So the appraiser is, yeah, we have that same conversation. It's kind of crazy with the buyers as well. The appraisal is not an inspection.
Oh God, no. I've seen some sketchy stuff.
I mean, you have to understand they're in the property maybe 10 minutes, maybe.
And you'd be surprised at how many times that I'm around. Because like I went and like dropped off a little packet for the appraiser or whatever and like stuck around the area. And I watched them not even go in. Like I've had
That's not
appraisers,
supposed to happen.
especially conventional.
They need some interior photos. Oh, they're taking them off the listing.
I think.
Oh
Yeah.
my
I
gosh.
literally there's this old guy.
That's wild.
Yeah, he does mobile home appraisals, and
The average
he
age of
pulls up and
an
moves.
appraiser is 60.
Mhm. This guy's like in his 90s, but yeah, he just pulls up, takes a picture of the outside, it's like, "Yeah, it's worth it, whatever," and leaves. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yikes.
So don't be trusting that. Seriously, I know that it's hard to get homes like offers accepted with home inspections on there, but at least do your due diligence by getting them to sign off that they're not getting a home inspection. Because otherwise, when that roof starts leaking, they're going to start pointing fingers. And yeah, they might like you and be like, "Oh, this isn't your fault. You're a good agent." Blah. But they might not. They might just want to go after somebody. And just another one I did the other day, the AC, the day after settlement, started leaking water all down through the ceiling because it was in the attic, and the whole wall buckled, and it's a huge mess right now. And the first words out of his mouth was, "I'm surprised the appraiser didn't catch that." That's not the appraiser's job. But they don't know that. The public doesn't know that. So you need to be the one to educate them on that.
Yeah, I get that a lot too. I just had one that it wasn't an Iron Valley agent, it was a different agent, but they failed to meet the inspection deadline to be able to negotiate things. They did get a home inspection. They noted that the chimney was falling apart, like it was crumbling. And this agent prayed and hoped that the appraiser would call it out, and they didn't. So that's something that she had to deal with the buyer, because the listing agent was like, nope, you're past the date. I don't care. So that's, make sure you're on top of stuff like that just because, like you said, appraisers don't catch everything. And this was an FHA deal.
Mhm. Yeah. Another thing is if they do a home inspection and the inspector misses something big, that's the person that's gonna get in trouble. So if you have done your due diligence, a home inspection's done, and they miss something. I had this happen with a very well-known inspection company in the area, for reference, like around Harrisburg area. Um, they had done two home inspections for me in the same week, and both home inspections missed some serious stuff. One of them was a basement, a finished basement was wired completely with speaker wire, and they had an electrician come in to put in like a dryer one, and he's like, "Why is this basement ran with speaker wire?" The electrician's like, "It's literally burning." It was literally burning in the light fixtures. All the like recessed lighting in the entire basement, speaker wire, guys. It's horrible. And it was burning. And the thing is we recommended home inspection. They got one. So they went after the inspector for it, and it ended up in a lawsuit. And yeah, it always cracked me up because still to this day, that inspector will ask me why I don't use them anymore. And I have flat out told them multiple times that that's why. But they keep being pushy on why I don't use them anymore. But put the liability not on you, right? That's the big thing. Any other
I've also
questions?
seen in like
Um,
inspectors, sometimes at the end of the reports, they'll put that like they're not liable for stuff. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but I've seen before where they're like, oh, you can't sue us. Like, this is just knowledgeable. You can't. And I'm like, isn't that your job though? Like,
yeah, I mean, they do have like a disclosure on there that they can only put on what they've observed, you know.
mhm.
Yeah.
What's so just general baseline question, what's working well for you guys in the lending space, whether it's with us or with another lender? What are you seeing that you're liking right now? What's frustrating you? Um, how can we be the best advocate for you guys?
I hear crickets.
I hear that's a swing.
I mean,
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
there's a kids yoga studio downstairs.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what that was. Let's see what's working. Personally, what always works for me is the first time buyer programs. Finding any way possible to not ask for seller's help on top of, like, I don't know about you guys, but across the board, I'm seeing where they want the compensation on the contract, and it just looks a lot uglier when you're asking for compensation and seller's help. It's like, oh, that's a lot of money off the top. So the first time buyer programs or any of like the low down payment loans are massively helpful for me because then there's a lot less that we're demanding, you know. I think it is getting harder on the buyer side to like, you just feel like with everything on the contract, you're asking for so much. So by limiting some of that, it definitely helps.
And I don't know if you guys noticed in the newsletter, I sent over like what's did you know, a did you know section. And we just had one with an Iron Valley agent that this really helped them kind of get over to the finish line. And this is kind of contradicting what you're saying, but if you are able to get 6% sellers off for FHA or whatever, or 3% for conventional, 5% down, we can increase the rate and do a lender credit back over and above that. So we're not capped at that. So sometimes that's enough to bridge the gap, or we can do that instead of seller's help. So,
Oh, it's also, I mean, it's great. Like if you can find the opportunity to ask for seller's help, it's great. Like I had one, I think with you guys, where there was like an overage, and you guys called me up and were like, so you have extra to work with, and I was able to get a home inspection or a home warranty on there, and
Or buy the rate down.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have so many options. Like if you do get that, you know, maximize if they don't really need it all. They already agreed to it, so if you don't use it, you lose it, and it goes back to the seller. So if you do have the 6 and you don't need it, it gives you some things to work with. So I still find with this market, the best scenarios to get sellers help with all the things you want is those houses that just aren't moving. So if you have somebody that you know needs the help, be looking at the ones that have sat on the market for 25 days. They're probably overpriced, really, because if they're priced right, it doesn't really matter the condition they're going. Renee can tell you that one. If it's priced right, it's going to sell no matter what it looks like. So just keep that in mind. Like if you have somebody that's super needy when it comes to like closing costs and things, have that conversation with them. You're not doing them any favors by setting their expectations high that they can get one of these ones that hit the market right at the top of their budget and you know they're going in like a day. It's just not realistic.
In the vein of sellers help, I'll just ask this as a quick little quiz because we see this come back to bite sometimes.
Oh, this will be one of your rapid fires. Let's do it.
So with FHA financing, can you always just ask for up to 6% seller's assist? And if not, what's the caveat? Because this is where sometimes we see an issue and we have to do a reduction in seller's assistance, especially if an offer is written without requesting a cost sheet. So
great
yeah.
question, Micah. Look at Micah.
Anyone? Give it a shot, even if you're wrong.
Is it 3.5% that you're allowed to ask for?
No, you can ask for 6, but what is the loophole with FHA? And it's a pretty it's a clear-cut loophole right up front for the buyer.
You're on the right track though.
Yeah, you are. Do you want me to just say it?
Sure.
So the buyer always has to bring a minimum of 3.5% of their own funds to the closing table at all times. So where you see this hang up is if it's a lower purchase price property, like especially like 200,000 and under. A lot of times if you ask for the full 6%, they're not bringing 3.5% out of their own pocket or with grant funds or PHFA, whatever it might be. And that's gonna cause us to have to go back and say, hey, we got to reduce the seller's assist. So they always have to have 3.5% coming out of the buyer's pocket. The difference can come in seller's assistance. So just remember that, because that's one where we see a glitch pretty frequently. So
does anybody know what the max seller's assist you can ask for on a conventional is?
That's fine. Yeah. And just so I'm clear, because Angie's saying this to me, and this is what I meant, but no, you're good. Grant funds can be included as in that 3.5%. So just keep that in mind. But they
Or gift funds
And gift.
and gift
Okay.
funds. Yes. Yep.
I thought that was no, so I learned something.
Yep. Gift funds are fine. With FHA is really the one big thing is they want to make sure it's really coming from like a family member or really like a solid relationship that we can truly document with a letter of explanation. So it's not like my cousin's best friend is giving me money, that's probably not going to fly. But parent, grandparent, spouse, step
Blood
parent is
related.
allowable with FHA. Yep.
But all right, the previous question still stands. You have another. Get your butt going.
Oh, damn it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yikes.
dip
Okay,
it.
bye guys. I have to jump on another Zoom.
Mike is out. The rest of us are still here for a minute.
So
Aren't you glad you told me ahead of time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
after you answer the conventional, do the VA.
Yeah. So conventional, what's the max seller's assistance you can ask for on a conventional?
Is it 6%?
What's that, Shelley?
Is it 6%?
Who
I
else is gonna talk?
3.
It's 3.
Unless.
It's a tiered process. So 3% down, 5% down, down to 9.9% down, it's 3%. If you put 10% down on a conventional deal, it's 6%. If you put 20% down or more, it's 9%.
Holy crap. We all just learned something, including me.
Yes.
I've never seen anything more than 3, so that's good
Which
to
is
know.
kind of crazy because if you have the money to put more money down, why do you need the sellers anyways?
Well, sometimes they buy, they use that cash, glob
Yeah.
cash to buy the rate down.
It depends on the market.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did see one time, some local banks will have their own rules too. So if you're working
Oh,
with
gosh,
like
yeah,
off
they
the,
have.
the one I did was First National Bank had a conventional program and they allowed 4. So when in doubt, just ask the lender what the
yeah.
max is.
Yeah, any bank or lender can have overlays. So even if we say you can do something, somebody else might have an overlay. So always ask.
Yeah.
That's right, Brittany.
Yep. And then, so Mindy had said, what about VA? What's the max amount you can ask for on VA?
Six.
6%. Yeah.
And it gets tricky because it says 4%, but you can also ask for in closing costs, but you can also ask for prepaid. So 6% is a good guideline.
Basically, the best way I remember typically is government backed ones are 6, and then the conventional is the one that's not. So,
But on VA, can't the buyer ask the seller to pay off some of the veterans' other items or outstanding?
Funding fee?
No. If they have other things that need paid.
I would have to check that. I've never run across that. Where
Okay.
closing costs can be used to pay off debt. Meaning to qualify?
And now I can't remember the exact scenario, but there was somebody that had up to like 9 or 10%. They were paying off this and that and everything else. The seller was doing it. Of course, it wasn't in the market, but
I have never come across that, but I will definitely check and I'll get back to Brittany and let you guys know what the guides are on that. That's really interesting. That would be incredible. Yeah, all kinds of things can be done.
all right. Does anybody else have any other questions before we cut out for the day? We've got a leaf blower out the window, so I think that that's a good time to say have a great day and have a great weekend.
See you later.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank
Thanks. See ya.
you.